Can I ask you a question? If someone had asked you 20 years ago about what your life would look like today, how accurate do you think you actually would have been? Think about it for a second. Would you have predicted your potential career change? Every move, every health challenge, opportunity, grandchild, loss? Probably not. Because life has a funny way of rewriting our plans. And that's exactly why I think so many people misunderstand retirement planning. A few months ago, I was sitting with a couple who had just made the decision to retire. Like most people, they came in wondering if they had enough. We spent a couple hours building out what retirement could look like, and when we finished, the husband smiled and said, "So I guess we're done." His wife laughed and said, "I hope not." We all kind of laughed. Then I looked at them and said, "Actually, this is really where planning begins." They looked a little bit confused. I grabbed a marker and walked over to the whiteboard. I drew a simple timeline and then I started asking questions. What happens if one of you lives to 98? What happens if inflation stays higher than expected? What happens if you decide to help your granddaughter with college? Or what happens if one of you needs long-term care? Maybe 5 years from now, you decide you don't want to stay in California anymore. Every question changed the conversation. Not because I expected those things to happen, but because some of them probably won't, but also something else might, and that's the point. Here's something that surprises, I'm going to say, most people. That 50% chance of one of your spouse is going to live until they're in their 90s. That means retirement is probably going to last about 30 years. 30 years. That's longer than most people spend raising their children. So now ask yourself, what has gone on in 30 years that you've never changed? Probably not a lot. So why would retirement? I've watched people decide to buy an RV after saying they'd never travel. I've watched adult children move back home unexpectedly. I've watched retirees become caregivers. I've watched widowers rebuild their lives they never imagined they'd have to. None of those people ever had a bad retirement. They just had a different retirement. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years. Retirement planning isn't about creating a perfect script. It's about creating enough flexibility when life changes. Your plan has to change with it. I actually think there's two different types of retirement plans. The first is built around predictions. What we think inflation's going to do, what markets might do, what you think you might spend. The second is built around possibilities. What happens when life changes? What are our options? In my experience, the second plan almost always creates more confidence because confidence doesn't come from having something that never changes. Confidence comes from knowing that if things need to change, you got somebody to help you navigate that. So don't ask yourself, will my retirement go according to plan? Because honestly, I've never seen one that really did. Instead, ask, if my life changes, will my plan be able to change with it? I think that's a much better question because retirement is about building a perfect future. It's about building a freedom to adapt to whatever the future brings. And in my experience, that's where real confidence comes from.